Microsoft 365 in practice. Hi Darius, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Jerry. How about you?
Good. I think the title of this episode is my favorite one yet. OneDrive seems to have a little bit of magic and a little bit of wizardry behind it. So let's see if we can explain some of that to our faithful viewers. The name OneDrive seems to imply that you don't need any other disk drive, that this product is the one and only drive for all your storage needs. And that is almost true, I suppose. And I get a lot of questions about OneDrive. So let's discuss it. The name OneDrive is used to describe several things. First of all, let's recognize there's a personal version of OneDrive out there, which is free cloud storage for anyone with a Microsoft account. It gives you 5 gigabytes of storage at the time of this presentation. And think of it as a hard drive in the cloud. Then, of course, there's the OneDrive with Microsoft 365, which we'll focus on today, which comes with your 365 subscription, and it comes with a terabyte of storage. That's a lot of storage, hey Darius?
7 years ago, that would have been unfeasible.
Of course, we access OneDrive with the app launcher or the waffle because it is a Microsoft 365 product. And it is private to you, not shared by default, where think of SharePoint is shared by default. Then the other thing that the term OneDrive is used for is the synchronization application that runs on your local computer, and it synchronizes files between the cloud and your local computer. It can synchronize any SharePoint library or your OneDrive, this OneDrive here. And you can work locally or offline, and OneDrive takes care of the synchronization back and forth. We also have the mobile app for iPhone and Android as yet another name that OneDrive is used to refer to. So what are the benefits of OneDrive? Well, first of all, it's easy to get to your files anywhere because they're out there in the cloud. It creates a backup copy of all your files in the cloud. So they're not just on the local device. So if your laptop gets lost or stolen or flushed down a toilet, you still have your files. It also makes it super easy to set up a new computer. You just kind of plug in and it starts downloading. It's not quite that simple. You have to install Office from 365, but then it starts downloading. And it gives you easy access to your files with Windows Explorer, which we'll look at later in this presentation. So here we are looking at my OneDrive. This is, of course, the Microsoft 365 OneDrive that I get with my paid business subscription. And it looks a lot like a document library, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So one thing you'll notice here is the sharing column. So all of these files are not shared. They're private to me in my OneDrive, even if I'm in a large organization with many other people in Microsoft 365. Unless I share the file, like this marketing folder has been shared, or this Office 365 in practice folder has been shared. On the left-hand side, I'm able to see, first of all, recent files that I've recently worked on. Let's see what we see here. So notice the module text that we're actually using to do this video right now is up on both of our computers, was edited 51 minutes ago. Here's the PowerPoint we were just looking at, edited 54 minutes ago. So we're actually able to see what I've recently worked on, and of course, click to edit here. One of the things that I found over and over again is we tend to work on a small subset of files at any one time. So this recent is really useful. And I can scroll down and see what I worked on this week, last week, etc. Below recent, we have shared, and this shows files that are shared with me or shared by me. First of all, files shared with me. This popular around me shows other files. It actually is the identical information you'd get on this Discover tab here, so we're going to skip over that. But these are files that someone else has edited and might be interesting to me, according to Microsoft 365, is taking a best guess about what I might want to modify there. And below that is files that others have shared with me. I can also see files I have shared with others up here in the Shared By You tab. Discover, check that one out on your own. Recycle bin, of course, is files that I've deleted. Now down below here, shared libraries. These are libraries and they're sprinkled around a variety of SharePoint sites. So I can quickly get to different libraries. The focus on documents, right? These are document libraries. When I click more libraries, I can see libraries, document libraries that are shared with me and ones that I have followed. There's some duplication across these two, but isn't this handy to get to all the different libraries where you work on documents, regardless of where they are in this big Microsoft 365 ecosystem? So here in OneDrive, looking at my files, notice this icon at the top that says sync, and there's kind of a double arrow thing with a little computer on it. Well, that's of course synchronization, and it means duplicate copies of my files, both in the cloud here and on my local computer. This does violate one of our fundamental rules in SharePoint, which is one version of the truth. But in this case, it's worthwhile doing because it's so useful and handy. Similarly, if I go to any document library, like this, my company homepage documents, I can also synchronize this SharePoint document library. Let's see what that looks like. It gives me a warning that it's opening OneDrive on our computer, and your browser may give you this message about, are you sure you want to open Microsoft OneDrive from the web? This little prompt is just letting us know that you might need to log in. So now that it's synchronizing, I can close this little informational window, and notice the blue icon down here, which is Lightlever Systems Inc., is processing 6 changes. Let's open this to look at it. So I can click on the blue icon to open my OneDrive folder. Here under Lightlever Systems Inc., I can see all of the different libraries that I'm synchronizing. Here's the one that I just synchronized, which is my company homepage, documents, the name of the site, dash the name of the library. Let me click on that. And notice the delete me folder with files and the timesheet query, there they are, and it is exactly the same listing as on the cloud, okay, except this is Windows Explorer we're looking at. Now, here's something interesting. When I right-click and look at the properties of this folder, let's just see how much space it's taking up on disk. So it contains 8 files, but it's taking up 0 bytes. Isn't that interesting? This brings up a very, very important concept. OneDrive has a very interesting feature where it manages your local storage. When you synchronize the library to your local computer, it doesn't download the files. It just grabs a copy of the directory listing of the folders and files, not the actual files themselves. The file is not downloaded to your computer until you open it locally, or if you right-click and specify, always keep on this device. So if I were to go into delete me and open up this sample file for testing, it will download. So now the cloud icon is there, and now I see a green check mark. So this sample file for testing has now opened. I'm just going to make one simple change to it and close it again. Of course, it's auto-saving because it's Microsoft 365. Now notice the status column. It's a spinning arrow again, and it'll turn to a green check mark in just a moment. So now that I've edited this file, it's got a green check mark, which means it's downloaded to this computer. I've got a summary of these icons here in PowerPoint. So the double arrow means it is synchronizing now. The file or folder is currently synchronizing. The cloud means it's cloud, but it hasn't been downloaded to my local device. The empty green circle with a check mark inside means that this has been downloaded to this computer. And the solid green circle with the check mark means it's downloaded to this computer with the specification that it is set to keep on this device. So if you plan to travel with your device and know that you won't have an internet connection, you may want to right-click folders you want to work on and make sure they are copied to your local device. So here, you can do this with a file or folder. If I right-click and this OneDrive section, I can say, always keep on this device. So this overrides OneDrive's tendency to just download the folder, and it downloads all of the content in the folder as well, rather than just the listing. So these will be synchronizing now because they're downloading. OneDrive for working offline. So when you're working in the office, there I am with my computer. There is an internet connection, and there's Microsoft 365 has files, and I'm able to access those files directly in the cloud. If I'm working remotely, there I am working remotely with my little baby and my computer, apparently. I have an internet connection. Microsoft 365 has files in the cloud. You're going, what's the difference? Jerry, you're confusing me. What's the difference? The difference is when you're home, you have to change the baby, and when you're at work, you have to drink coffee. Otherwise, it's the same. It's a cloud-based service, right, Darius? So whether you're at the office or in Timbuktu, which is a real place, you access Microsoft 365 and your OneDrive through the cloud, through the internet.
Are you telling me there's no difference?
Well, the difference in your network connection, I suppose, but otherwise, yeah, there's no difference. So let's take a look at working offline. First of all, there I am in the office with my computer, internet, and my files. When I tell the OneDrive sync client that I want to synchronize files, which I did by clicking that sync icon, OneDrive copies those files to my device, as you've seen. There's the copy. And I have files on my local device. So now I'm ready. So I can work on my files as if I were connected to the internet. Anything I'm downloaded, I don't need the internet. They're on my local computer. When I connect to the internet, the OneDrive synchronization client checks to see what's changed in my computer and on 365, and checks to see if it can safely copy files, or it's going to overwrite changes that other people did. And this transition or this synchronization is transparent to the user. It just happens in the background unless there's an issue, in which case it'll let you know. So that's how the synchronization works. By the way, Microsoft has just announced that we can now store large files up to 100 gigabytes in Microsoft 365. And they recommend, as the most reliable way to upload those big files, is the OneDrive Sync client. So this little blue cloud down here, busy chugging away. So one more thing about the Sync client, and that is the settings. I'm not going to go through all the settings, but notice if I right-click, I can access settings here. The first thing we see is we do indeed have a terabyte of cloud storage, and I've used a whopping 137 gigabyte of it. And then down here, notice I see the different locations that I'm synchronizing, including this one that we just synchronized. For each of these, I can stop synchronization, or I can narrow my synchronization down to a subset of folders. This choose folders isn't as important now that OneDrive does the on-demand syncing, but it used to be really, really important. So if I stop synchronizing, it will stop synchronizing the files between my local device and the cloud, but copies are retained on the local device. So just be cognizant of that. Well, let's take a look at using Windows Explorer to access files. So as I mentioned, I can right-click to open the OneDrive folder. And here in my OneDrive section in Windows Explorer, I can see the files that we're synchronizing, like this My Company homepage documents. Now that we have our technical how-to out of the way, let's talk a little bit about using this tool. Now that my files are stored on my local PC, I can use Windows Explorer to get at things, copy files or entire folders in and out of OneDrive. So I can even drag and drop folders in here. For example, here's a sample data folder. I can drag it into my documents library. So now that sample data folder is busy synchronizing to our document library in the cloud and will be available there shortly. So I can rename files, delete files. Everything that I do here affects my document libraries or my OneDrive in the cloud. What's also really useful is maybe I have a folder that I want to use a lot. I want quick access to it, this Hero Color Boxes folder. I can navigate to that folder. I can create a shortcut in quick access just by dragging this icon down and dropping it. See where the black bar appears here? There it is. I'll put it there. So now I have this folder is available through my quick access section in Windows. This is very handy. And once you have this quick access set up, it's available to you in all of your Office programs. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, when you're opening or saving, you'll have access to this shortcut. And as you know, in Windows, right-clicking shows you what you can do with an object. And so if I click on one of my files or folders, right-click, we've seen this already. There's a little OneDrive section in the right-click menu that shows up. So always keep on this device means download it even if I haven't opened it recently. This will show me my version history. It'll open online. And we can also share, which we're going to look at next. One of the big areas that we talk about when we talk about OneDrive or SharePoint, hey, it's in the name, is sharing. Let's say someone has contacted me and asked for a copy of this communication plan, which is included in my SharePoint in Practice book. If I right-click the file, and in this share section, the OneDrive section, I can click share, and this will bring up a sharing dialog. By the way, this dialog is exactly the same here in Windows as it is on the web now. This is a recent improvement. The important concept here is that I'm going to tell Microsoft 365 how I want to share this file and with who, and then 365 will adjust the permissions of the file or folder and send a link to the people that I specify. So in the sharing dialog, the first thing to take a look at is this top section. What we're doing here is specifying what type of share we want to do. So anyone with a link means whoever I send this file to, they don't have to enter a password or anything. They can open the file. They could forward it on to someone else, and then they could open the file as well. Sometimes that's what you want, but proceed cautiously with that. The second means that anyone in my organization, so Lightlever Systems is, of course, my Office 365 tenant, so it means anybody with a Lightlever Systems email and the link can open. So it's slightly more safe than the first option. People with existing access means 365 won't change the permissions, it'll just send a link. And then specific people allow me to specify specific email addresses or Microsoft Teams that I might want to share this file with. Notice in some of these, I have the ability to allow editing or not. And if I don't allow editing, I can also make it so they can only open it and can't download it, which is another really cool addition here. So let me share this file with you, Darius, and I'll allow editing. So when I apply, it's saving those changes so 365 knows how I want to share. One feature that's missing here will be coming, I'm sure, is it doesn't connect to my address book to look up email addresses. So usually what I do is copy and paste into this dialog, and you can separate names with commas if you wish. So let's choose Darius to share with. And it warns me that you're outside of my organization because that was a Gmail address. Down here I can add a message. Here you go. That will show up in the sharing, and I could click send, or I have a few options down here. I can also copy the link because I'm going to paste it in somewhere else. Maybe I'm pasting it into a Teams chat or into another file or whatever, but it retains all of the settings up here of the link. Or I can open up in Outlook, and it'll open an Outlook message, so I could have a slightly more professional look to my message rather than just using the default send that Microsoft 365 generates, which I'll click send here, and it's been sent to you, Darius. So I'm going to play this and I'm going to talk along with it, and I can point at the same time.
Okay.
So this is a recording of my iPhone. You see the OneDrive app here, and at the top left I can choose which account I'm going to select. I'll select Lightlever. Now I can just click to the side here with my finger to close that window pane. So here are all my files the same as we would see on the OneDrive main screen. You can browse for files down here on the left. I can also see recently edited files, which is really useful. I can also use this camera icon to take a picture, for example, of a whiteboard or business card or a photo. Let's use business card as an example. Here we go. So here I am taking a picture of the business card. It's processing. Now I'll click done and decide where to save that business card. I'll just save it in my files here and click the check mark at the top right. Similar to the OneDrive, I can see what's shared with me. And I can see all the shared libraries with quick access here with this app. Back in recent files, let's say that I wanted to open this PowerPoint. So I can select it to open it. And now I'm actually in view-only mode in OneDrive viewing a PowerPoint. There is my PowerPoint from the web. Click the icon at the top here if you want to actually edit, which I'm not going to do right now, but recognize that editing with your mobile phone isn't great, but it does work if you need it. I use it occasionally. And in order to do that editing, you need to have the mobile apps downloaded, which you get for free with Microsoft 365. Hey, I'm Jerry Brimacombe, and this has been another episode of Microsoft 365 in Practice. Please let me know if you have any questions, and your comments and subscriptions are welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.
It's the OneDrive to rule them all, the OneDrive to link them, the OneDrive to download it all and in the distance join them. In the land of Squarespace, where practice lies.